Now comes a very important consideration we have to make. For whom am I practicing the spiritual path? I've seen the causes of suffering in my life, and I want no more of them. I want freedom through practicing the spiritual path. But is that enough? If it's the case that my suffering comes fundamentally from privileging self, from separating myself from the rest of the world and making it my king, my arbiter, then surely to practice the spiritual path just for my own individual freedom is in a way to still be trapped by the bewitchment of self. If it's the case that I'm suffering, and now I've begun to climb out of the pit of that suffering, what about every other being in the world? Don't they have the same longing to be free from suffering? Don't they, just like me now, go looking in all the wrong places for freedom and happiness, and find only suffering and further bondage and disillusionment? Aren't they going through all the things I've been through and have now decided to put an end to? So how can I make the spiritual path mine alone, one for me alone? I cannot. I cannot do that. I must instead re-understand what I'm about. I should revision it. I should understand that my practice must involve the welfare of all beings, the liberation from suffering of all beings. In other words, I need to develop a sense of responsibility for others, universal responsibility, one might say. It's not enough just to want it for a few. After all, as Dean Martin said, and it's undeniable, everybody loves somebody sometime, but that's not enough. It's not enough. Sure, I like you because you like me, make you feel secure. When did that become love and start just being a kind of proprietorial bargain? That's all it is. So instead I must consider that every being, high and low, near and far, wants freedom and happiness just as much as I do. How to train in that sense? Well, in Buddhism we say, develop loving kindness, then develop compassion, and finally you'll come to this sense of universal responsibility, or as we call it in Sanskrit, bodhicitta. How to convince how to break through that enormous pressure that I've built up over all the years, that enormous habit, I should say, of seeing everything just through the prism of my own interest. How do I get out of that? Well, one way to get out of it is to start to consider one's interconnectedness with others. Okay, one might say, I can sign up to that. We're all interconnected, blah, blah, blah. I'll sign. Give me the next petition to sign. Doesn't everybody think we're interconnected? No, that's not enough. That didn't change the heart. That was just a political slogan. No. In Buddhism, we start with the particular and gradually embrace the universal. So one way to start is to consider by thinking of, indeed, those who are close to you. Perhaps your mother, perhaps your father. Anyway, somebody who showed you in your life selfless care. Yes, our mums are not perfect. I know, we've all read that. Our dads are not perfect. Yeah, we all know that. But for most of us, they did show us, despite all their confusion and prejudice and everything that we all have, they showed us selfless care. They put us before themselves. And if we were unlucky enough not to have parents, it will be another person who's done that in your life. We all have somebody who's done that. Someone who's lucky enough to have quite a few. So that person who showed us selfless care, we should think of them. And we should think of how indebted we are to them. And how, actually, we can never repay that, because it goes beyond measurement when somebody steps out of their own self-interest to treasure another person. It's immeasurable. So we should think about that immeasurable debt we have in return. And when we do, we'll think that person should have happiness and the cause of happiness just as much as me. And when we can do it for one person, truly, so that our heart opens to them, we can do it for others. And gradually find that we open up to more and more people. And even those who are difficult people now. With mature wisdom comes the realization the enemies of today are the friends of tomorrow. Everything changes. Given another circumstance, that enemy might have been my friend. And indeed, maybe in another life was, if we can stretch our minds that far. So we can see that everybody has that kind of connection with one. And in return, one feels for all of them love. So we start with the particular and we draw others into that till we have that great love. Maybe it's the work of a lifetime. But that's good. But starting on it is a wonderful thing to do. And if we can have love, we can have compassion. Because compassion is the thought, they have suffering. And just as strongly as me, they wish to be free from it. So if I want it for myself, I must want it for them. Whatever I want for me, I must want for them. So again, begin with somebody close to you and develop that compassionate heart to them. And then gradually bring others into it. And when one does this, it's like a barrier begins to melt between oneself and others. That emotional barrier that is called self and other, me and the rest. What I want for me, I want for them. What is so important about me? There is nothing that makes this particular combination of body and mind any more privileged than any other. That's how I should really relate to the world. And when I do, it'll come to me that the real reason to practice the spiritual path is to find the capacity in myself to make a reality of what I wish, that others have happiness and freedom from suffering. And that takes us back to the Buddha himself, because that was his motivation. That's why he left the palace. That's why he went out into the wilderness. That's why he practiced. To discover in himself the timeless wisdom, the limitless compassion, and the full effectiveness to benefit all beings. And his discovery, that same potential is in everybody. So Buddha's job for the last 45 years of his life was merely to share this possibility with others. He couldn't put anybody into Buddhahood. He couldn't enlighten anybody. No more than anybody can do it for us. We have to follow the way ourselves, do the practice ourselves, bring about the transformation ourselves. How ironic, I'm using the word self when I say ultimately there isn't one. But that's how it feels right now. So I've got to begin with how I feel now and work through it. So we can emulate the Buddha. Each and every one of us can do so. And that is the real point of practicing Buddhism. That is the point at arriving at freedom. What else is freedom for, if not to use for others? Anything else is a waste of our freedom.